Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
The United People's Movement is accusing the government of pushing a gay agenda due to their recent vote in the UN. That story straight ahead.
Will the Democratic National Alliance welcome the rebel 7 MPs into the fold? Women protest for their right to dress as they please when registering to vote. Education ministers from around the world will soon begin arriving in the capital. We'll tell you why. Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina McNeil. Topping news tonight, the Christie administration's decision to support a controversial vote in the United Nations last month is not sitting well with the United People's Movement leader, Greg Moss. Moss is accusing the government of continuing to push a gay agenda that goes against the will of the people. Jasmine Brown explains in this report.
Moss says agreeing to that UN vote was a slap in the face to the Bahamian people who have said publicly that they do not agree to a gay agenda. The United Nations vote allowed for the appointment of an independent expert on protection against violence and discrimination based on sexual orientation. Moss says he has no doubt that Minister of Foreign Affairs Fred Mitchell is aware that it was the International Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Trans and Intersex Association that led the drive to have the UN make such an appointment.
So this is a massive development on an international level. What it amounts to is that the international community is now trying to do internationally what they could not get our government to do domestically. They're trying to create international law that would affect the Bahamas through our courts and so on, and affect the Bahamas in terms of our obligations.
After several local pastors complained about the vote last month, Minister Mitchell argued the Bahamas' vote was consistent with Christian values, which include decrying any action which would support violence, discrimination, bigotry, or intolerance against people of every stripe without distinction. But Moss insists the vote is nothing but a backdoor attempt by the PLP government to subvert the will of the Bahamian people.
That the church is actually right on this.
Moss added that while the UPM does not support violence in any form against all people, it also rejects the attempt to label Christian values as discriminatory.
Our position is very clear. A UPM government position is very clear. That commitment that Fred Mitchell made at the United Nations level, we will not honor. This country has the right, the sovereign right, but also the Christian right, to carve out our own niche in this world and say to the world as a whole, we respect people. We don't want anyone to be mistreated. We don't want violence against anyone. But at the same time, we maintain and defend the right of our country as a Christian country and our people as people who abide by Christian values.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Thanks, Jasmine. Well, Democratic National Alliance Deputy Leader Chris Mortimer says despite speculation, the DNA has absolutely no intention of hastily taking on members of the Rebel 7. As many question the next move for opposition leader Loretta Butler Turner and the 6 F&M MPs who supported her in ousting Dr. Hubert Minnis, Mortimer made it clear during a press conference today that all are welcome to join the DNA. However, there is a process.
We have no intention of absorbing F&M candidates. None. The decision on whether they come and become candidates in the DNA isn't a candidate that me or Mr. McCartney make in and of our own selves. The thing is, we have a candidates committee, and they make that determination.
Butler Turner shocked many when she appointed DNA leader Branville McCartney to serve as opposition senator. Since then, talk of an alliance between the two has become a hot topic. McCartney today didn't talk much of the alliance, but said his party is ready to continue gearing up its political machinery to secure election victory this year.
Voting is more than just your constitutional right. It is also your responsibility. So I encourage all Bahamians who have not already done so to register now.
But with voter turnout the lowest it's been in decades, McCartney says the blame must fall on someone.
The passion once felt by the electorate has been replaced by apathy. Bahamians no longer believe that their votes make a difference. This sentiment is as dangerous as it is pervasive.
Meanwhile, it was a silent protest this afternoon on the steps of the Parliamentary Registration Department. Women of the Too Sexy to Vote movement fighting for their right to vote as controversy continues over the dress code for women when they show up to register. Leading the movement today was Tribune chief reporter Ava Turnquest. She says as low as voter registration is, turning away women because of how they're dressed in 2017 is unacceptable.
I don't want to say that this is why voter registration is low, but in an environment of low voter registration, why are we doing things to further frustrate the process, to make it harder for persons, particularly people that may not have the resources, to keep coming again and again? For most people, if they're turned away one time, that inconvenience may be enough to not go back again.
Parliamentary Commissioner Sherlyn Hall last week defended the dress code, saying women with too much cleavage exposed will be turned away. Since then, National Security Minister Dr. Bernard Nottage has come out saying he's never heard of the rule and was surprised to hear that women were turned away. Activists Alicia Wallace and Aaron Green lent their support to the Too Sexy to Vote movement.
Women represent at least half of voters, and it's very important that we're able to show up in ways that are comfortable to us. We know that the law is objective, whereas people's opinions are subjective, and there's no way that our constitutional right to vote should be subject to anyone's opinions or outweighed by someone's idea of what is decent and what is modest.
For many people, just entering a government building is a daunting task, right? Just engaging with government services is problematic. And so we're here to provide those elements that are required for full access to citizenship. We're here to support you in the exercise of your rights.
Our News spoke with Parliamentary Commissioner Sherlyn Hall immediately after the protest. He declined to comment on the protest. Nottage has said that people can wear whatever they want to register to vote. In other news, following accusations that hundreds of supply teachers had not been paid for their services for much of 2016, Minister of Education, Science and Technology Jerome Fitzgerald is responding to those claims, saying the issue is well underway to being fixed. Giorgio Bain reports.
Minister of Education Jerome Fitzgerald says there are several reasons why those supply teachers have not been paid just yet, including a delay due to Hurricane Matthew. But according to Fitzgerald, they're working to have that problem rectified as soon as possible. It follows the government being called out by Free National Movement candidate for South Beach, Jeff Lloyd, who said that the government's failure to pay over 100 supply teachers in several months saddened him and called it a blatant display of disrespect to educators in the country. Fitzgerald says there are only 70 supply teachers who are owed money, and the majority of those issues have been resolved.
The challenge we have had with supply teachers has been that we cannot pay supply teachers until we receive the requisite information from the various districts around the country. In some instances, principals have delayed the submission of those supply teacher requests.
Leader of the Free National Movement, Dr. Hubert Minnis, announced his plans to make Lloyd the Minister of Education if the party is successful in the upcoming general election. Lloyd commented that without the sacrifices of those teachers who came out of retirement to assist the ministry in its time of need, students would have lost valuable class time. Fitzgerald said people like Lloyd would have to take into consideration the delays caused by Hurricane Matthew.
The second issue, of course, is that we had a hurricane that intervened, and that in and of itself caused a delay with regard to processing and the payment of some of those claims. As a result of that, now we have instituted a new policy within the ministry where we have mandated that all of our districts send in those claims for supply teachers every Thursday.
According to Fitzgerald, a recent meeting with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Finance is aimed to prevent issues like these from occurring again.
So we've had a meeting within our ministry and with the Ministry of Finance in order to make sure that that policy position was agreed upon, and that is what we'll use moving forward to address that concern.
Reporting for our news, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Still to come on our news, education ministers from 34 Organization of American States countries begin arriving in the capital for a major conference next month. Hundreds are registered to race for the cure, and a local school prepares to celebrate a major anniversary. That's coming up when our news returns.